Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls and Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Morgan You Know podcast live stream here on Facebook and YouTube. Maybe if you're checking in there, Jimmy informed me last week that we cannot live stream on Facebook anymore. Let's just bring in the executive producer of this podcast to explain this further. He is a friend of mine since back when we were third graders, I believe. I mean, we go back and forth and up and down, and we still continue to hang out to this day. He's my guy, James Thomas Jamariska. Jimmy, hello.
Hey, yes, third grade. It is my fifth office in the last 5 episodes of the Yeah We Know podcast. Everything's all over the place. It's a train wreck. I am fine. X won't let us stream because we don't pay for it. Facebook just got a notification. We may have to figure out something with that. You know what? We're going to stream to ourselves. We don't care.
That's right. Listen, honestly, we're really just doing this as a hobby. There's only about dozens of you out there that listen to us, and we appreciate the dozens of you that do listen to us. We also understand that Williams' buddies from the gym may be jumping back on board, which will bump up our numbers.
Ooh, double our numbers. Let's go.
Our guy Josh Williams is coming back to the podcast. And speaking of that, because football is around the corner, because he is just itching to get back on here and to podcast with his guys, joining us after a summer hiatus, it's our football handicapper. It's the reason we have a podcast. It's the person that you should listen to above Jimmy and I and Chris, because we know nothing, but Williams, he knows a little bit. He's our guy, Josh Williams, the handicapper. Hello.
What's up, boys? It's great to be back, man. How's it going?
Listen, Williams, let me ask you, when you were off during these like 4 or 5 weeks, we checked in with you for this, we checked in with you for that, but you were basically off. Like, what does the handicapper do? Does the Williams HQ get fired up? Are we still doing 5 TVs? Are we still having multiple bets every night? Like, what's happening?
Oh yeah, some running some 5Ks. We got some NASCAR going on. We got some DFS golf. We did well at the hot dog eating contest. Yes,
Okay, that's
Jimmy,
true.
don't
You did
roll
let
your
the group
eyes.
thread know that you did well with that. I again say that that's an asterisk because Joey
There are
Chestnut was
responsible
not
gaming
involved.
groups, Williams. There are responsible gaming groups you can join.
The niche sports, man. They have these bad odds. You got to take away from.
All right. Well, speaking of niche, our man who holds down the niche of the oldster, the guy who's been around, the guy who's seen things, the contrarian, the man who will have an opinion that you didn't necessarily expect, and that's why we love him. He's our guy, Chris King. Chris, hello.
What is up, fellas? Williams, I got to ask you, are you upset that Williams isn't playing in the Hall of Fame game?
I mean,
I thought
No,
when I heard that, I was like, he's been waiting. He's been calling for this for years. He's been waiting to see this man in a uniform, and he has to wait another week.
yeah, it's all good, man. I'm just ready for some football. I'm super happy for Devin Hester, Steve McMichael getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. So yeah, Thursday night's gonna be awesome.
Mondo, Jimmy. We also love Mondo because he has some NWO bona fides, right? Steve McMichael, one of those guys who has a good pro football career and a pretty good wrestling career. He had a decent little carve out there, WCW.
U.S. champion for a decent amount of time. Wasn't the best in-ring technician. He's not your Ricochet, your Ric Flair, but he was decent on the mic. We'll give him that.
Nice. Well, we're going to get to football soon, but I want to start with what is currently happening right now. The Olympics in France, they have kicked off. We had the opening ceremonies. Some people were mad. Some other people had to explain that that's not really what was going on, that they thought they were mad about. But bottom line is the Olympics are still going on, Chris. We have people competing in kayaking. We have people competing in gymnastics. We have people competing in badminton, table tennis, skeet shooting. My man, Chris, you've been around since the early, I mean, you saw Jesse Owens run. How much of the Olympics are you watching?
Listen, the real Olympiad does not start until August 7th when the modern pentathlon begins, all right? And that is what the Olympiad is all about, all right? Here you have 5 like when this started 1912, I know I was a little old then, but still, this is the type of things that you wanted your best soldiers to be at. You wanted to be good on a horse. You wanted to be good with a pistol. You wanted to be good at running and swimming and good with a blade, all right? That's what we want. This is like your best soldier versus our best soldier, and let's battle it out. And it gets done all in one day.
That's the part of the modern pentathlon that people sleep on very often, Chris, is the knife skills, right? You got to be able to handle a blade in the modern pentathlon, right? You can't just be good with a gun. You can't just have good stamina. You can't swim. You can't know how to ride a horse. You have to be able to work a blade. So you got to think that our guy Sam Bowie really would have killed it in the modern pentathlon back in the day.
Yeah, the one thing that is going to change though, next Olympics 2028, they're going to get rid of the show jumping with the horses, and they're going to install a obstacle course race.
Nice. So no more dressage, and we're getting into like steeplechase for the horses. I love that. Williams, listen, as a man who loves to bet, as a man who needs things to place down, having a little action, having a little heat, getting some odds, you have to be betting on the Olympics, right? You have to be tuning in. You got sports on USA. You got sports on the E Network. You got sports on CNBC, NBC. You can go to Peacock and fire up your guy Scott Hansen on the Gold Zone. You have to be watching the Olympics, Williams. Come on.
No, zero Olympics. Once the NFL preview book comes out, just my head is just buried with NFL, and then I've got a decent MLB future going that I don't want to jinx, so I'm not even going
MLB?
to
What's
mention.
MLB? What's MLB stand for? What's that?
Is it White Sox losing 150 games?
That might not come in.
Because that could win.
Is that the sport that I gave these gentlemen a quiz on, Mr. Williams? Please tell me that you
Yes.
listened to the baseball quiz episode.
I did. That was awesome. That was
Yes.
awesome.
That was fun stuff. That was one of our better episodes. If you guys want to hear an episode where me, Jimmy, and Chris are having a good time, and Chris and I are not fighting with one another, things are not odd between Chris and I, it's just a good, fun episode. Go back a couple of episodes and hear where I asked Jimmy and Chris questions about the baseball all-star break. But Jimmy, save us. Come on, tell me you've watched some of the Olympics, right? I mean,
Yes.
I look at it this way, Jimmy. Barcelona, the dream team, 92. You and I were 12 years old, right? I was hooked, right? The Olympics had me. Boom. So from 12 on, I'm doing Olympics in my backyard. I'm checking in every summer. I remember 96 in Atlanta. I remember 2000 in Sydney, right? I remember 2004 in Greece. And then we're just rolling on, Jimmy. Come on, tell me you're an Olympic supporter.
Celine Dion was involved in the Olympics. I watch in the Olympics. I'm sorry. Shout out to my girl Celine. Listen,
I didn't know Jimmy was Canadian.
He's not Canadian, Chris, but you know what he does love is he loves somebody who can sing their ass off to a ballad. All right. And there ain't
Damn
anybody
right I
better
do.
in the world that can do that than Celine.
His name was Meatloaf, and they actually sang that anyway. Archery, awesome. Went to sudden death for the gold medal. Can you imagine? And can you believe the 9 points and 8 points in the line? They had to get a magnifying glass to see if a line was hit in archery. I think that was just fascinating.
Jimmy, I love that. I love that. Let's ask this question right now. Jimmy, I'm going to go right now. I'm going to interrupt you. Just ask this question. Chris, the last time you pulled back a bow and arrow and fired an arrow at a target, how long ago?
7 years.
7 years. All right. Williams, how about you? Last time you pulled back a bow and arrow and fired an arrow at a target?
High school archery. Yeah.
High school archery. Yeah. See, I don't have that. I got my guy, Sam. Shout out to my guy, Sam. I'm pretty sure he's not listening because he's not a huge sports fan, but he's my guy. Loves craft beer. And you know what else he loves? Shooting a bow and arrow. All right. He's got a target set up in his yard. He's got like the cabinet deal, Chris. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's got the target right there. You open up the cabinet. You got the arrows up on the side. You pull out the bows that actually are made of deer skin, right? Apparently that's what you really want, you know, all that. So I shot a bow about 3 years ago, Chris. Does that surprise you?
A little bit. Was a compound bow or just a single?
Single. Come on. You know me. Listen, look at me over here. You know there's no way I could fire a compound
Yeah,
bow.
pull back a compound bow. I even know that.
You know what I wish I could do more than that, though, Jimmy, is play volleyball. All right. And that's really the only reason I wanted to bring up the Olympics. Okay. I am a guy who every 4 years becomes a huge volleyball fan. And the other thing that happens every 4 years when I become a huge volleyball fan is I get mad at our high school, Jimmy, that you and I graduated from. All right. We went to freshman year together, sophomore, junior, senior year together. We both graduated from the same high school. All right. And we did not have a volleyball program. I get mad every 4 years, Jimmy, when I see beach volleyball 2-on-2 and I see 6-on-6 volleyball indoor, and I think to myself, here I am, 6'2", maybe 6'3" on a
men's
good day.
volleyball. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
we had a volleyball program.
Right, men's volleyball. Excuse me,
Okay,
men's volleyball.
okay.
Right. But here I am thinking I'm 6'2", 6'3", pretty athletic, not incredibly athletic, but pretty athletic. I got a long reach. I could have been good at volleyball, Jimmy. Why did we not have it available to us as a male sport in our area?
Because the female volleyball and basketball coach, I believe, who were the same. No, they weren't the same person. They probably had the gym, 365. No one can get in there.
Now,
Sorry,
Jimmy,
brother.
listen, I know that you were trying to carve your way out as a successful bullpen catcher, so you were more of a
PPC,
baseball
baby.
guy.
Yeah.
But Chris, you were over in the Bluffton, Fort Wayne area. Was there more of a men's volleyball action happening over in your school? I mean, again, this goes way back before Jimmy and I's day, but
This
still,
is the 70s, dude. They didn't have volleyball at all.
Yeah, zero.
But do you agree
Yeah,
with me that you'd like to play volleyball? Would you like to had your shot?
No, I'm good. I'm all right. Well, volleyball's not my thing. What was more exciting to me was watching the kayak finals. Did you guys watch
Okay.
that?
Do you think that you
that was
could
good too.
kayak?
Because that guy, that's what you like to see in the Olympics, though. Hometown hero. All right, the French guy coming in, last guy coming
Of course
down.
you weren't for the French.
It doesn't matter. They just happen to be in France. If this was an Australian or was an Australian guy, that would be great.
So you're
too.
just saying you're not pro French, you're just pro hometown.
I'm pro hometown hero, right? And that's what you want to see in the Olympics.
So do you want to see Victor Wembanyama beat the United States in the basketball for the Olympics, Chris?
I don't want to see that, but that is a good story nonetheless, is it not?
All right, but you know what? If we're going to talk about the United States basketball team, we should probably turn it over to the man who hosts the basketball talk on this podcast, Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, why don't you run us through a fast break before we get to the NFL?
Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest, about 3.5 minutes in the NBA. We have the Olympics going on right now, and Team USA handily defeated Nikola Jokic. And I just say that he wasn't playing for a country. It was just him by 26 points. But I think the biggest stories coming out of the Team USA win are Joel Embiid was like a minus 56. He got benched. Jason Tatum didn't play. Halliburton didn't play. People are making a big deal about this. This is the Chris King, I don't care corner. I don't really care that Jason Tatum didn't play. I don't know if he really does either. They won. He won the championship. That's been your Chris King, I don't care corner. Rod
No,
Buck.
listen, Jimmy, here's what you got to ask yourself. All right. So the United States handled Serbia by 26 points. All right. What could have that scoring margin been had they decided to play a guy who's been first team NBA for 3 straight seasons? Okay. A guy who just helped lead his team to the NBA championship. What do you think it might have been like for Team USA had they played that guy? Come on, Steve Kerr. I don't want to be a hater. I loved it when you hit shots for the Bulls. I think you're a pretty darn good coach for the Warriors. I also look forward to the day when you leave that job and go back to being a color man for broadcasting on NBC. That'll be great too. But come on, Steve Kerr. Jason Tatum is one of the 6 best players in NBA. You have to play that guy. Chris, I know you disagree with me, so I'm going to throw it to you right now.
Yeah, he's the second best player on his team. Why does he want to be spending a whole lot of time playing for the USA basketball? I mean, he didn't win MVP of the finals. He didn't win MVP of the Eastern Conference finals. So I guess second fiddle on his own team. I don't know if that necessarily equates to being on the court for Team USA in a, kind of an important game as a statement. To be fair,
Jimmy, I'm shocked to hear Chris take an antagonistic stance against me. Williams, let's ask you as an impartial third person. Are you surprised Jason Tatum is not playing for Team USA?
Was it because he was had a lingering injury? I don't get what's going on here.
See, so you agree with me. It makes no sense that a man who's been all NBA for 3 straight years cannot play for the United States basketball team.
Well, I'm assuming that he told Kerr that he's all right with not playing. This is the 12th pitcher in the All-Star game. He's I got selected to the All-Star game, but I'm okay not participating.
No, that's clearly Tyrese Halliburton, who nobody has mentioned also did not play in that game.
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
That's clearly Tyrese Halliburton. Jimmy, come on.
I need more
Jimmy.
info here.
Jimmy, where are you at on this? Jimmy?
I don't care. I think it's funny though that his two teammates played quite a lot. I think that Kerr is going to say that he liked the defensive and offensive matchups with Adebayo and Davis in there more than bringing another three in. Durant had a fantastic game. He had played no basketball since April and just came in and did great. Tatum's going to play this next game. I'm not
Jimmy,
too
here,
worried
listen,
about it.
I'm not advocating for Kevin Durant to not play. I'm not advocating for LeBron James to not play. I'm not advocating for Drew to not play. Here's who I'm advocating to not play, Jimmy. All right. And let's just get to it. You mentioned it at the top in the intro here. Joel Embiid was absolutely terrible. He was absolutely terrible. So why can't we work a rotation where Joel Embiid is not playing as often and Tatum can come in and play power forward? Give the guy some minutes. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I think you're going to see that change. I think you're going to see Embiid get 12 to 15 because, again, it just doesn't look like he's ever in shape, and that's the thing that sucks about Embiid. I did like the fact that the French were booing him a lot, but big question when you listen to this either tomorrow morning or today, South Sudan coming back. Can they avenge their last second loss to the U.S. or is the U.S. pissed and they're going to win by 60?
Listen, Jimmy, that's a great question because we have to start gauging the competition the U.S. will face, right? South Sudan may be tougher than we all think. The Japanese team almost pulled off a huge upset over the French team today. Canada just barely beat Australia. I mean, there is a lot of talent in this tournament, all right? Check out a basketball game, okay? When the Dream Team played in 1992, Chris, you'll remember this, all right? You were a 40, 45, 46-year-old man when the Dream Team played in 1992. They had 9 other NBA players to deal with in the entirety of the other tournament. This Team USA now has to deal with, I believe, 67 other NBA players that either are currently or have been on NBA rosters on the rest of the teams. That's insane. So let's go. Shout out to Noah Eagle. Shout out to Dwayne Wade. I've enjoyed the basketball coverage. Jimmy, I think maybe that's all we have for NBA.
That is all we have for the NBA. Let's move on to the NFL.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We get some of our better numbers during the NFL season. We come on, we talk a little bit about the games that were, we talk an awful lot about the games that will be. We have funny little gimmicks that go along with it. But the reason that you listen to us during football season is there is one particular member in this 4 box right here that you see, if you are doing us the favor and checking us out on video, actually knows what they're talking about because he's placing the bets. He's doing the daily fantasy. He's checking the odds. He's making the plays. He's got future bets. He's playing bets every week. He's playing halftime bets. He's the guy that actually is out there with the skin in the game, and he's nice enough to come on this podcast and impart his knowledge to all of us every week. And frankly, Chris and Jimmy and I just yell at him and make fun of him, and he continues to come on here and give us his knowledge. We love him for it, Mr. Williams. So we are going to do 2 divisions an episode leading up to the NFL season. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll try to get through them. I'll try to be quick with these.
Quick is not necessarily your strong suit,
No,
but that is
it's not.
why the people love you. So we are going to start with the AFC East and the AFC North. And the reason I love you for starting with these 2 divisions is we just get some of the biggest name quarterbacks, bam, off the board right here. Russell Wilson. Everybody considers him one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Top name in the NFL. Got to talk about him. Justin Fields, also another huge name. Everybody's got to talk about in the game. No, I'm kidding about those 2, obviously. But Lamar, he's in one of these divisions. Aaron Rodgers coming back off of his injury. He's in one of these divisions. So, Williams, are we starting with the East or are we starting with the North?
We can start with the East.
Ooh, the AFC East. It is. This division used to be dominated by the Patriots. They are probably a rebuilding team this year, maybe, but they do have a quarterback that they try to hope in. They do have a new head coach. The Buffalo Bills, we still got to look out for them because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but maybe there's some attrition on the rest of the skill players on their roster. The Jets, paying a lot of money for guys. but a little bit older. What can Aaron Rodgers actually do? Williams, lots of questions in the AFC East. Where do we start?
Yeah, I'll start with the Bills. Their projected win total is 10.5. It's shaded under at -155. They're spending less at every offensive position from last year, except for quarterback and linebacker. The Bills come into the season with the second largest dead cap hit in the league, with over 61 million going to players no longer on the roster. Yikes! They're projected to face the number one most difficult schedule of offenses in 2024. And Warren Sharp ranks the offensive line 22nd, the running back 17th, wide receivers 28th. So other than Josh Allen, like this team is kind of under average, I would say. They also get a little unlucky with the schedule from week 5 on. They play 4 dome teams, but they're all on the road, where the dome teams don't have to go outside to play in Buffalo. So, yeah, and you can't beat yourself. The Bills led the league last year in unnecessary roughness penalties. I mean, and Sinbad wasn't even on the team. So,
Hey-o.
Jimmy loves that. Loves it. The Bills, last thing, the list of quarterbacks who the Bills played last year: Zach Wilson, Jimmy G, Sam Howell, Tyrod Taylor, Mac Jones, Tim Boyle, Easton Stick, Bailey Zappi. That guy's not real, is he? It was the 6th easiest.
Wait, no. Tim Boyle? Tim Boyle's not real. You made that up. Yeah. That sounds like a Doyle rules. That's not a real guy. He didn't play.
That was the 6th easiest schedule of opposing quarterbacks all year. This year, they face Rodgers twice, Stafford, Mahomes, Lamar, Stroud, Purdy, Goff, Lawrence. So they're going to face a top 10 schedule of opposing quarterbacks, and that's with a revamped secondary. Tre'Davious White is gone. Jordan Poyer's gone. Micah Hyde's gone. Dane Jackson's gone. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards the under on Buffalo 10.5.
Jimmy, let me ask you this. All right. Let me get you to try to put yourself in the head of the owner of the Buffalo Bills, right? Something Pakula, right? Isn't that his name? Something like that, I believe. Anyway, you're him. All right. You were paying $61 million, as Williams just said right there, in dead cap money. Like, explain to me how you think an owner can come to a decision where paying that much money to not help your team on the field is a good idea. How do you think that happens?
When you get that covered by your annual check from the NFL. So that's easy. I mean, that's just profit. That doesn't make it. They're just playing with play money right now. But that 60 million, in my opinion, is going to be worthwhile because I've got the Bills over 10.5, Williams. I think they're winning 11 games this year.
Wow. Look out. Buffalo Bills fans. You guys should be scared that Jimmy just looked out for your team right there. Chris,
there's a lot worse than that. A lot worse than that.
First, I think Boyle is one of the Boyle brothers from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? Isn't that where they came from? I'm pretty sure. So I mean, you can't be scared of that guy. I gotta say, I think the Bills are the 3rd best team in this division. I really do.
Wow. Listen, Chris, I tend to agree with you that I think that, like, if you have attrition on your roster and you let skill position players go, it has to mean something. But like Williams, tell me how wrong I am to have this mindset. In the NFL these days, your quarterback matters. And Buffalo might have the 2nd best quarterback in all the NFL. So, like, convince me that the Bills aren't still going to be in the running for anything here.
Yeah, I would say 3rd behind Joe Burrow, 3rd best quarterback in the league. But yeah, they have a chance with him. I mean, he was awesome down the stretch last year. Nobody thought they would make the playoffs, and then he ended up, carrying them on their back, and he got in, and they really had a chance to beat Kansas City. Just had some bad things go against them there late. But yeah, I mean, whenever you have Josh Allen, I think you have a chance. But I think they just lost too much. Diggs and the whole secondary, and the schedule gets a lot tougher. So.
Diggs down in Houston, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Down in Houston. We'll get to them when we talk about the Colts division. So then we just hit quarterback. Let's just stay here in the AFC East. Here's a guy who's won MVP awards. Here's a guy who we're told is a big deal. Here's a guy who we're told is a surefire Hall of Famer, one of the better quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL, but he's coming back off an injury. Chris, what do you honestly expect out of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets?
I mean, I am expecting Rodgers to stay healthy for the entire season. let's be honest, he is normally healthy for the entire season. He doesn't get injured. He's been healthy for almost the entirety of his career. So, like, I expect that to continue. I don't think the Achilles will end up hurting him. I expect 30 touchdowns at least. All right. I expect 4,500 yards passing at least. I expect what, 10, 11 wins from the Jets, second in the East. If that happens, Rodgers gets comeback player of the year. Maybe a mention for MVP.
Jimmy Jam, I tend to agree with Chris that Rodgers is going to be healthy, but do you think that Rodgers will be able to be any semblance of the quarterback we remember? Because the numbers Chris just talked about certainly means he has to be.
In 2022, he had about 3,600 yards, so that's not 4,000. And that's his last, full healthy season. I think he'll be around there as well. I do have the Jets doing a lot better than they did last year, but I have them second in that division at 9 wins. I don't really see them getting over that hump. Rodgers will have a solid season, and the Jets will improve. It just won't be good enough for him.
I don't want to. That Green Bay team had 0 receiving. All right, let's be honest. No one on that Green Bay team from 2 years ago could catch a pass. So let's not pretend that Rodgers is going to have the same weapons now that he did then. I think the Jets receiving core is much better than whatever Green Bay had a couple years ago.
I tend to agree with you. They definitely have tried to give Aaron the pieces to work with. So, Williams, if we're not looking at the Bills and we're not looking at the Jets, who's got the best chance of being a spoiler in that division?
Oh, I don't know if it's spoiler, but I mean, I'm high on the Jets also. I think this is between the Jets and the Dolphins. I'll just give you a few quick Jets things here. Last year's rankings: 32nd in pass efficiency, 32nd on third downs, 32nd in red zone. That is not good. They're spending at a top 10 rate on the D line and at linebacker and at cornerback. And PFF has that defense number 1 in all 3 categories, which is wild. Last year, the Jets D held Stroud, Dak, Josh Allen, Hurts, and Mahomes to all under their yards per attempt average on the year. And this defense is they're absolutely loaded. They're going to be in positive game script with Rodgers being healthy and Garrett Wilson. And I think one of my best bets already this year, 2 years ago, we hit on Offensive Player of the Year, 14-1, Justin Jefferson. I'm throwing this out. AP Offensive Player of the Year, 20-1. I'm going Breece Hall. He was limited his first 5 weeks last year coming off an ACL injury. From weeks 5 to 18, Hall averaged 20 PPR fantasy points per game. The only running back to score more during that time frame was Run CMC. And get this, when Aaron Jones was 24 and 25 years old, like the prime of his playing career, playing with Aaron Rodgers, he was RB3 and RB4 in fantasy points per game. The Jets O-line has been upgraded, and Breece ran behind the number 30 and the number 29 offensive line and run block win rate the last 2 years. This year, PFF ranks the Jets O-line as top 5 in the league. Breece is only 23 years old. And this is the craziest stat maybe of this whole podcast. Breece Hall got 1 carry last year inside the 5-yard line. He was RB2. That's probably going to skyrocket times 10 or 15 this year. So I think Breece Hall could be your RB overall number 1 this year in fantasy. AP Offensive Player of the Year, 20-1, Breece Hall.
Okay, that's all well and good. And I love that you said AP Offensive Player of the Year, because there's 0 chance that a running back's winning an MVP. Zero chance. I don't care how good the guy is. There's 0 chance. So maybe AP Offensive Player of the Year, but quarterbacks get all the pub. Everybody wants to talk about them. It's great. I did forget about the Dolphins. Chris, what do you think? Dolphins maybe more in the running than I give credit for?
Oh, Dolphins are going to win this division, all right, because the Dolphins are built for the regular season, all right? They are fast. They are quick. They start off games fast, so they don't have to play from behind. They have a easier schedule than both the Jets and the Bills do this year. They don't have to do so much travel late in the season where even if they do fall off a little bit late like they did last year, they should have a big enough lead by the time they get to week 12 that they'll coast to first place.
Jimmy Jam, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. Who you like to win the AFC East?
I've got the Bills winning the AFC East, but hey, Chris, the Dolphins, real quick, 4 out of the last 6 are on the road, including Green Bay and New York and Cleveland. So that kind of scares me a little bit for the Dolphins there.
Yeah, but they'll have a big enough lead in that division. Those games.
Oh, okay. So they'll be 12-0, 12-1 coming into that. Gotcha.
Shout out to Cleveland, site of SummerSlam, which Jimmy and I and Chris will get to very soon here.
No one's afraid of Cleveland.
That's very true. Nobody's afraid of Cleveland. Nobody wants to go there on vacation either. Joakim Noah told us that back in the day. Shout out to him. Mr. Williams, who do you got winning the AFC East?
Before we get to that, just a few things on Miami. They're spending.
Is this the first double back of the season, or is this a little different?
Yes. Listen to this. Dolphins spending 17 spots lower than they were last year on the defensive line and 12 spots lower last year at linebacker. They were plus 25 in the sack margin in 23. That will probably go down. And that means Mike McDaniel versus non-playoff teams. I hate to put this stat out there because I love Mike McDaniel, but versus non-playoff teams, they were 17-4 in his tenure, averaging 30 points per game. Versus playoff teams, they're only 3-12, averaging only 20 points per game. And can this offense thrive in cold weather in the playoffs? We've seen them now lose in Buffalo and KC in the playoffs in January the last 2 years. I think everything is gearing up towards the Jets winning this division, and that's who I'm going to go with.
Wow, Jets. All right, you got Jets. I'm going Bills. Bills. Josh Allen. Bills, get it done. That's my pick.
I mean, you're tying yourself to Jimmy's pick there, Rod. I mean, you sure you want to do that?
I basically have decided, Chris, that I think it makes for better content this year if I go down with the ship with Jimmy. So, yes, I will be assigning my ballast and I'm not sure the other word for sailing. I've never been a captain, but we're going to go down with Jimmy if we're going down. That's what I'm saying. Speaking of going down, let's go down or up or left or right. I'm not really entirely sure. I'm just trying to come up with some sort of a way to tie it to. Bringing us to the AFC North, where we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have the Cincinnati Bengals. We have the Baltimore Ravens. We have lots of fun teams to talk about in the AFC North. Joe Burrow looks a little bit like Slim Shady. Chris, does it worry you?
No, it doesn't, because Joe Burrow is back. Joey Burr is going to be healthy for the entire season this year. I think if that happens, Cincinnati's looking real good, and it's going to be a real tough time beating that team.
All right, Jimmy, Joey Burr, more like Slim Shady, who I just said to Chris, or more like Cody Rhodes, who I'm throwing to you now?
It's Cody Rhodes. Kingdom has to play the second the Bengals come out. Has to be done. It's actually kind of a really cool entrance theme as well. I love how he just said, I got bored. I'm glad he didn't do the neck tattoo thing, that big Bengal neck tattoo. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want to go for the Bengals on your next, Williams. I mean, like, of all NFL ownership groups, like, the Bengals probably a little bit lower on the totem pole than you would like them to be if you were going to permanently put something on your throat area.
Yeah, for sure. This is a tough division to call, man, because the over-unders are Cleveland's 8.5 shaded over -135, Pittsburgh's 8.5 shaded under -160, Baltimore's 10.5 shaded over -120, and Cincy's 10.5 shaded over -140. One quick thing about the Cincy, they had grades on nutrition. They did this nutrition test ESPN did. They went through all the football teams. Cincinnati got an F- on
Shocking.
nutrition. They don't have a specialized nutritionist.
It's the Conings, man. It's the Conings.
It's Skyline. It's Skyline. That's what it is.
Mount Washington chili, dude.
They put chocolate in that stuff.
They put
Chocolate, cinnamon.
They're serving gruel over there? What are we doing? Just borscht? Is it just like a Russian soldier diet? We're just serving up borscht? What's happening?
All it really tells me that, then, Williams, is that all those other teams are wasting a whole bunch of money with nutritionists and dietitians and everything else. Just send them to Skyline. They can still win. You can definitely go into Kansas City and win if you're eating Skyline.
All it tells me is Mike Brown ain't trying to spend any money. That's what it tells me.
Yeah, exactly
what it is.
All right, Jimmy. Let's go to Pittsburgh here, all right? Because I find Pittsburgh the most fascinating, all right? We talk about the Tomlin rah-rah spot all the time. Russell Wilson is there now. Your guy, my guy, Justin Fields is there now. Mike Tomlin never loses more games than he wins. Somehow he sneaks into the playoffs more often than he doesn't. Like, What do we expect out of the Steelers this year? Because they're clearly going to provide us with some storylines.
So a little behind the scenes with Jimmy here. So what I do before the season starts is I go through every single week and I pick all the winners, go through everything. At the very end, I might tweak one or two here if the Colts are going like 1-15 or whatever. What do you think I picked the Steelers? 9-8. Why? Because that's what the Steelers do. They go 9-8. I think Justin Fields is going to see a little bit more playing time than Russell Wilson thinks he's going to. And I think he's going to do okay. I will have a Justin Fields jersey at some point, I believe, this year. But I think it's going to be another 9-8. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Chris, will you Chris, will Jimmy have his Justin Fields Steelers jersey before you finally secure your Drew McIntyre WWE t-shirt? Will that happen? Which is first?
Oh, he'll have that jersey first, and because Fields will probably be playing because Russell's already hurt, right? Like he already got carted off a practice field, so that's typical fashion, I think, that we're going to see this year. I don't believe in either one of these quarterbacks. They got them both dirt cheap, and I think that tells you something. What other GMs think about these quarterbacks. I don't think Mike Tomlin is going to have a winning record this year.
You just almost called him Mike Tomlin. I like that. That'd be cool if his name was Mike Tomlin. I almost like that better than Mike Tomlin. Williams, as a handicapper, going into Pittsburgh playing 17 games this year, who did you think to yourself when you gave Pittsburgh a number starts at quarterback more than the other guy?
Russ, but we're dropping the lead here. We forgot who is the offensive coordinator now for the Steelers.
Oh my
it's
God, we
none
did.
other than prehistoric dinosaur Arthur Smith.
Your guy.
Let me give you some stats on Arthur
No
Smith.
No tight ends.
He's going to run the ball. If you're going to take anybody from fantasy on the Steelers team, take Najee or take Jalen Warren and don't take anybody else. They're going to use 2 and 3 tight end sets. The problem with all this is now Russ is the quarterback and he doesn't really throw over the middle of the field. At least he hasn't the last couple of years. A lot of play action here, a lot of stretch runs, a lot of deep balls down the sideline for us. So there's conflicting strengths and weaknesses here. They're going to try and grind out some wins. Arthur Smith ran a 3 wide receiver set at a 17% rate last year. The next lowest team, 41%. The prehistoric dinosaur lands in Pittsburgh. And did you guys check out the Steelers schedule? The last 8 games, it is the hardest schedule I've ever seen in my life. They don't play a division game until week 11. So they play all those division games against the Browns, against the Ravens, against the Bengals. And then the other 2 games they play are Philly and Kansas City. It is a murderer's row. There's no way that Tomlin is going to keep this streak alive. They're going under 8.5. If Tomlin somehow gets to 9 wins, he should win Coach of the Year. He won't, but he should win Coach of the Year. But that's not how it goes. But this schedule is absolutely ridiculous down the stretch for the Steelers.
This is horseshit. This is horseshit, Williams. You know better than this. You've been on this podcast now. We've done this for what? Is this going into our 4th year or our 5th year, Jimmy? Is this our 4th or our 5th year? Yeah, so we're going into our 5th year. All right, Williams, you've been here many times where we have counted out the Steelers. We have said, what the hell is Mike Tomlin doing? And what does he do except stick a finger? See the finger that I got right here? Just stick a finger in our face all the time. So why are you coming on this preseason podcast where I know you try to not do anything hot takey. You try not to say anything too crazy right here at the beginning, just touching on the seasons. Why are you willing to go this far on the Steelers right now?
It's contrarian take, but it's really not contrarian when you were so all in. I'm not saying you as in you. I'm saying you as in me.
Listen, put it to me. You want to come at me? You come at me. I'm a man. I can take it. I'm like Mike Gundy.
I think we're all so in on the Falcons offense last year, and it just totally.
I was not in on the Falcons.
Totally puttered.
I was not in on the Falcons offense. I told you their quarterback would be terrible. Chris, back me up here. I said the Falcons quarterback would be terrible.
I think a lot of us agreed that the Falcons had weapons, but they would not use them. Exactly. They would be terrible. Yes.
So Williams, we talk about this so often. I love that you brought up Canada. All right, I did, because we all fall into our things here on this podcast. You talk about so often how the average lay NFL fan doesn't think enough about coordinators, whether they defensive, whether they be offensive. You really think that it doesn't matter how good of an NFL coach we all think Mike Tomlin is, because we clearly think he is. It doesn't matter how much talent the Steelers have. You think the addition of their new coordinator will be their downfall.
Yeah, I do, but I think Tomlin can still get to 7 or 8 wins, which with this team and this schedule is still impressive to me. Like
All right, Jimmy, that's
yeah,
fine.
Tomlin's
Williams
so
is
good.
still over here hedging and hawing. He's
Yeah.
on the middle of a fence. He
I
doesn't
said
know where he
under
wants to go.
8.5. I didn't say they're
but
going
you
to go
still
like
haven't
2 and
said-
15.
You still haven't told us who you love in this division. You still haven't told us who you love in this
that's
division.
tough.
You continue. That's what I mean. And I knew that you would be there. Jimmy, I'm going to you first because you are a man. You are not afraid. You have made many a bad prediction on this show, so you will just fire it out there. Jimmy, who's winning the North?
I have a tie for the North, but the number 1 team does beat the number 2 team twice. So I do have the Cleveland Browns taking the North over the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland Browns. People in Cleveland, I apologize as well because I'm going to be wrong.
Wow, Cleveland. Chris, I see you just as surprised as I am. Did you in any way, shape, or form think Jimmy was going to back the Browns?
No, I thought it was common knowledge that Cleveland would be rushing to the bottom with Pittsburgh in this division.
Nope.
Oh, so you're telling me you believe in Deshaun Watson? You have faith that Deshaun Watson will learn this offense and be productive? I don't think anybody else believes that.
Well, I'm a true believer.
Wow. Williams, I'm going to go to you. You're the football handicapper. You love it when Jimmy comes out here. You get a kick out of Jimmy Jamariska more than anybody else on this podcast. When Jimmy told you the Browns and Deshaun Watson were winning this division, what did you think?
I'm with them.
Let's go! Let's go! Look at their schedule. Let's go!
What Kool-Aid are you guys drinking?
Not only am I with them, I'm exactly with them because I think they're going to tie Cincinnati, and I think they're going to sweep Cincinnati. And I had that in my head before he even said that. Listen, do you know who they brought?
Chris, this is some horseshit out of these
This is conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. Like there is something else is going on here.
You guys know that you have done something crazy if Chris and I are jumping on board just as fired up on something. You guys know that you are really on a bad side.
Listen, the Ravens have the 4th toughest strength of schedule this year, and PFF ranked them as the 26th best offensive line. Like, they lost a lot on the offensive line. And Cleveland, you know who Cleveland added as a defensive consultant? Mike Vrabel this year. And there's no way that Deshaun can play as bad as he did last year. That's at least what I'm going with. We got Ken Dorsey. They're going to spread it out.
That's at least what he's going with. That's what he said.
They have a really good offensive line.
Let me ask you, what certain markers in your head led you to say, I don't think Deshaun Watson could play any worse than he did last year? Because I'm not willing to say that. I think there's a definite chance that he could be worse next year than he was last year. What led you to believe there's no possible way he could be worse? Because he only got older, and we all understand that the thing that normally happens with athletes is as they get older, they get a little bit worse.
Yeah, they got Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman. I mean, there's no way that he can be as bad as he was last year.
Jimmy, did that answer
positive
that Williams
regression
just gave about wide receivers speak in any way, shape, or form to why he thinks the quarterback may perform?
I just put a $10 bet on the Browns,
Wow.
and I'm going to win my $45 at the end of the season. I don't even care about wide receivers.
Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, coaching the Browns.
Here we go. Stefanski. Chris, honestly, do you want to go into the year saying to yourself, you know where my money is with? My money's with Kevin Stefanski. Come on.
Nowhere in my entire life would I ever want to utter the phrase, I'm backing Deshaun Watson.
Thank you. Listen, honestly, that's Williams. I love you, and I see your hand up, and we're going to go back to you in a second here, okay? But Williams, you know that the majority of the narratives I will try to bring on this podcast are about quarterbacks and if quarterbacks are really good and if they're bad. And I don't have to look too far to say to myself, you know what? I'm not sure there's a scenario where Deshaun Watson, who I've seen over the past 3 years, is going to be a guy who's going to lead the Cleveland Browns to the promised land. That's just where I'm at, Mr. Williams. Come on, tell me why you believe in Watson.
Yep. This might change your mind right here. Ken Dorsey, who's going to be calling the plays, got 2 big years out of his mobile quarterbacks in the first year he was with those teams. The first was 2015 in Carolina with Cam Newton when he was the QB coach. Cam won the MVP that year. The second was 2020 with Josh Allen. that year Josh Allen had a monster year. The Browns had a ton of injuries last year. Now they're getting some people back healthy. I think Deshaun Watson can have just an average year, and I think the Browns can be right there for the AFC North Division title.
You know what? There's a difference between those scenarios that you depicted, Williams. I'm pretty sure that, those other two guys were real young and in their first year or two of the league, whereas Deshaun Watson is now a crafty vet type age in the NFL and is probably not going to want to be as mobile. And if he really is the savior for Cleveland, you don't want him taking those types of hits that Cam Newton and them had to take when they won those awards and were that productive in that offense.
Here's where we're going to finish. All right. I'm going to say the thing that nobody else wants to say. All right. When Deshaun Watson was good in the NFL, he was clearly up to some nonsense. All right. He was clearly up to some nonsense. And there's probably not a scenario that exists where Deshaun Watson in 2024 is up to the same nonsense that he was up to back in his early days of the Texans where he put up the great stats. So if we can say that a man did something in the early part of his career and he's not doing something in the later part of his career, there's a possibility that things will be different. That's all I'm saying. All right. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. Chris doesn't believe in Deshaun Watson. Jimmy and Williams do believe in Deshaun Watson. You guys let us know on the Morgan social channels what you think about that. Let us know how you are offended that Williams and Jimmy do not respect your daughters. You can tell us that right now. We will be fine.
They are advocating to go to Cleveland on vacation, which is just asinine.
I'm joking, of course. Williams and Jimmy have nothing but respect for all of the ladies. All right. I'm just kidding. Williams, you were back. You got the rust dusted off. You're ready to come back and talk to a couple of more divisions to us next week. Is there any last parting nuggets you want to get off for the people before we round out this episode?
Yes, although we love the NFL, it does not care about player safety. A few things about the schedule. There's 66 games played where one team has a 3+ days of rest advantage, which is the most in NFL history. And then there's the schedule this year that's making 10 teams play 3 games in 10 days because Christmas falls on a Wednesday this year and the NFL has to play on Christmas. There's 10 teams playing 3 games in 10 days after not having any teams do it in the previous 5 years combined. 10 teams this year are doing that. It's insane.
Yep, it's a money grab. That's why we shouldn't extend the season any further.
When we get closer to Christmas, don't worry. I'm going to light the NFL up. All right. I don't appreciate them encroaching on my dude's NBA territory, but we'll get to that to another time. Mr. Williams, thank you so much. Mr. Jamriska, thank you as always for producing this podcast and for joining us and dropping your insane take that the Cleveland Browns will win the AFC North. Chris, honestly, I don't know if I've been as surprised by anything that Jimmy back in the Browns that happened here tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to go back a few years when he was back in the Raiders. I mean, right? I think that was about as crazy. And this is probably still a little bit more crazy.
I guess I am happy to hear Jimmy attack the heartland and not just the coasts like he basically used to with the teams that he would predict good things out of and then make them actually flame out. So good thing Jimmy's going after the heartland. Shout out to our guy, the Cleveland Crippler, Mark Allen, big Cleveland resident, hopefully running security at SummerSlam this weekend. And if you're interested in SummerSlam, perhaps you should listen to me, Jimmy, and Chris do our predictions for what will happen at that premium live event. That will be available in this very podcast feed that you're listening to right now. So we would appreciate you stopping listening to this episode and listening to the next one in the feed, which will be wrestling. It's called Yeah We Know. We'll be here on the other side. Chris, send the people home.
Goodbye, Internet.